This is the third time I've started recording this video. I get about 2 or 3 minutes in, and a helicopter buzzes my house. I don't know what's going on outside. I hope everyone's okay. And I don't know if my microphone is actually picking it up or not. But it's really, really distracting. But I'm going to power through even if a helicopter lands on my street outside my window. And I apologize for any noise that may be bleeding through. So, welcome, one and all, to the finale of this season of Debut Review. Here it comes. It's not as close as the last two, but I can still hear it and it's really distracting. And you might be thinking, why just record it later? Not going to have time until at least Wednesday. So, it's currently Sunday right now. Yeah. You keep going, helicopter. That's right, you just keep going. So anyway, I've spent the last several weeks watching the first episode of every new anime to debut on Crunchyroll this season. And there were about 25 of them, about the same as last season. Last season, I ended up watching at least episode 2 of about half the shows. This season, not so much. I have 7 shows that I at least watched 2 episodes of, out of 25. Yeah, kind of a rough season this time. Most of the shows ranged from meh to I'm struggling to think of an anime worse than this. But there were definitely some standouts this season. So in the finale, like last time, I'm going to talk about every show that I watched at least a second episode of. And the first one on the list is Restaurant to Another World. This is a show that has a fun premise. And I was interested to see where they were going to go with it, especially because they actually, they had a character, a dragon, who I thought was really interesting. The basic premise of the show is there's this, I really hope the microphone is not picking that up, which probably makes it really, if the microphone's not picking it up, probably makes it really awkward when I get distracted by something and you can't hear it. Kind of like when your cat suddenly goes, and you're like, what? What the hell are you looking at? Is it a moth or is it someone outside trying to get in? Restaurant to Another World. There's a restaurant, and for some window of time, like 12 hours every Saturday night, its front door becomes a portal to Dungeons and Dragons land. And people come in and from this other world, monsters, trolls, dragons, adventurers, and they... Oh, it's so distracting. It's so distracting. I'm so sorry. It's so distracting. Oh, God. This is also why I usually record at night. Less traffic. And there isn't usually this much noise outside my window. I probably wouldn't live here if there were. Focus! Restaurant to Another World. So, a person from another world ends up stumbling upon the cafe, and she's a homeless person who has no home, as you might expect a homeless person to not have. And she gets hired by the restaurant at the end of the unit, Restaurant to Another World. And the dragon comes in and has her soup and realizes that this homeless kid now works at the restaurant. And because the dragons like to, sit on hordes of treasure, it's their property and they will protect it. Well, she considers the restaurant her property and she will protect it. Well, since this girl who now works there is part of the restaurant, she's going to protect her too. I'm like, okay, let's see where they go with this. They go nowhere with that, at least in the episodes that I watched. I think I only watched it feels like I watched 4 episodes. I think I may have only watched 2, because each episode is an A and a B part. So it's kind of 2 episodes in one. The dragon never shows up again, at least in what I saw. And the problem I had with the show is it does exactly the same thing every single time. So, the first story. There's a person in another world that stumbles upon a door, and they go in, and oh my gosh, it's a cafe or restaurant or whatever. What's this doing here? And the guy says, hey, come in, sit down, make yourself comfortable, have some food. And they choose something off the menu. Oh my golly gosh, it's the bestest thing I've ever put in my face. I must henceforth come back here every week and order exactly the same thing. Next episode. Someone else stumbles upon the door, goes in, hey, there shouldn't be a cafe here, but there is. I think I'll have this other thing. Oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever had. I'm going to come back here every single week and order the same thing. Next story. Some other dude stumbles upon the It's the same story every time. Now, maybe they break that pattern after a while, but that's why I didn't bother watching anymore, because it's the same. From the way the anime presents itself in its first episodes, it's saying every single story is the exact same story. Well, I don't want to watch the same exact story over and over, so I didn't. Next, we have Classroom of the Elite. This is one I didn't like, the first episode of, because it was boring and its premise made little sense. The basic setup is there's this school that is this elite school that has 100% graduation rate and placement. 100%. It explicitly states this in the show, which kind of kills the tension, because if there's 100% placement or graduation or whatever of everyone in school, then we know everything's going to be fine, so who cares? So all of the kids in school get a certain number of points, like 10,000 points, which is like $10,000 or whatever. I think they get 100,000 points, which is basically 100,000 yen, which is about $1,000 for a month. Something like that. They're given a substantial stipend to buy books or video games or food or whatever. Well, most of it blow all of it, because most of the students blow all their money because they think they're going to get another 1,000 at the end of the month. Aha! But we didn't tell you it was performance-based, and you little turkeys took it for granted and weren't paying attention in class, sometimes played hooky, so you don't get any points this month. So is the twist that 100% of the kids graduate. The ones that didn't starve to death, that is. Okay. How did any student not know this going in? You'd think word would get out. And something happens at the end of the episode with one of the character reveals where he's something more than he seems he is. And it's like, okay, all right, let's give it a second episode, just see where you're going with this. Another problem I had is the lead character, basically the lead 2 characters, are like me without bothering to wear the social mask, you know? Just flat and emotionless, seemingly not caring or affected by anything, which is really boring to watch, right? Which is why most of us who are like that, with years of practice, put on a mask of sorts. We learn to alter the tone of our voices and gesticulate and alter our facial expressions and not stare, but, you know, look away, because people get uncomfortable when you stare. So I watched the second episode, and I don't think I watched any further. In fact, I had forgotten I'd watched the second episode. I was going to go watch the second episode and say, oh, wait, yeah, I already watched this. Should I watch episode 3? Nah, I remember why I didn't keep watching now. So the second episode, if I'm remembering correctly, and my brain has this thing where it just rejects things I don't like, it'll keep hold of the information that you didn't like this thing. Why didn't you like this thing? All that's gone. Did you like this thing, Andrew? No, I did not. Why not? I don't remember. My brain does not hold on to that. So this show, the second episode, if I'm remembering correctly, is essentially, okay, so the class has to pull itself together and do well on the tests to raise its ranks so the kids get their money for the month and don't starve to death. Fine. Well, there are like 3 delinquents in the class who are dum-dums, and they're going to pull everyone down with them. So our leads, even though they just really don't seem to care, one of the characters who's trying to befriend everyone is trying to cajole them into tutoring the 3 delinquents so that they'll do fine on the test, but they really don't care. Our main characters just don't seem to care, which comes off as this haughty, condescending tone. And the 3 delinquents are like, you know what, screw you, we're done with this. The whole class can go to hell for all I care. Oh no, drama, the whole class is in danger of failing and the kids are going to starve to death. What is going to happen in this school where 100% graduation, 100% placement? And then the tests arrive, and they're all freaking out because these 3 idiots didn't study and dropped out of their tutor thing, and our main characters just kind of gave up on them and went, oh well, whatever. So the day of the test comes, and they all do fine and pass, and life is fine. Okay, I get. So this is a show where there's no tension ever, because even when it introduces something that might be a conflict, I mean, it's immediately resolved in the most boring possible way. Oh no, the whole class needs to pass this test. These 3 are our weak link. We need to help them. We don't want to help them. They refuse help. Oh no, what do we do now? It doesn't matter because everyone passed because they did. This show would have to make some incredible strides in episode 3 and on to hook me, but I didn't give it that chance. So moving on, we have Tsuredure Children, a show that I knew was about high school kids and their love lives. That sounds horrible. I don't care about anyone's love life, and I certainly don't care about high school kids. So when you present a show to me, Andrew, new anime, high school kids' love lives, I'm like, I would rather clean under my toenails with a crowbar, thank you very much. But this show really surprised me. It's genuinely funny, it's genuinely charming, even though it's about high school kids' love lives. Something I really, really don't care about. So I watched episode 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and I'm all caught up. I think they're on episode 9 or 10 or something right now. I've watched all of them. I think the show is genuinely great. Each show is, it's only 15 minutes long. And it's broken up into 4 shorter stories. So with the intro and the outro, each story is only 3 minutes or so. So even if you get a story that you're not interested in, with characters you don't care for or don't like, or are in a situation which is off-putting to you, and that probably will happen, it's over in a couple of minutes. But the show is, to me, genuinely funny and sweet and charming, and I like a lot of the characters, and you do find yourself invested in it. And this show really works for me, and that surprised the hell out of me. Again, not every segment works. Most of them are pretty good to one degree or another. There are a couple of duds, but mostly this show works. Also, something I wondered about when I reviewed the first episode is, will we ever see one of these couples again? Yes, in subsequent episodes you occasionally do revisit couples that you've seen previously and further their story. So, yeah, thumbs up to Tsuredure Children. It's a really lovely show. I quite enjoy it. And that surprised the hell out of me. Next we have Fastest Finger First. Triple F. This is a sports anime, or a competition anime. These are generally kind of hard to screw up. Although the soccer one, Aoyama-kun's Clean Freak, or whatever it's called, that was a dud for me. And that seems to be... although that's more of a comedy based on one guy's OCD. This didn't seem to have as much to do with actual, team of misfits get together to play soccer and take on the championship. Fastest Finger First is a sport I have never seen. It tackles the realm of Quiz Bowl, which is a bunch of people get together in a room and answer trivia questions. Whoever buzzes in fastest gets the opportunity to answer the question. So Fastest Finger First, you see. It's a charming little anime. The characters are likable. There are no surprises. It is exactly what you think it's going to be. But as I said, this framework, for a lot of people, myself included, just works. I usually like this kind of show about a person or a group of people getting together to try and be the best at a thing they love. Whether it's trivia, cooking, any type of sport, baseball. I was thinking specifically of Princess Nine, which is a fine show too. Hajime no Ippo is boxing. That's great. So I genuinely like that genre of anime or even show or film. The sports / competition setup usually works pretty well for me, and Fastest Finger First is no exception. And it also has the advantage of being a sport or competition revolving around an event that I've never seen a show focus on before. Trivia questions. So, très cool. I'm caught up on Fastest Finger First. It's also up in episode 10 or somewhere, and quite enjoying the show. Quite enjoying the show. Both Tsuredure Children and Fastest Finger First, I think, are definitely shows that I will watch to completion. Next, we have 18 If, which was a very dreamy anime, and I mean that in the sense that the show takes place in literal dreams, so it features dream logic. And the first half of the first episode, I was a little concerned because, like dreams, it while it had a flow to it, it had no narrative cohesion or any semblance of rules that you could latch onto, which makes sense when you are dreaming, but not so much as an outside observer of that dream. Like, a dream makes total sense when you're dreaming it, then when you try to tell it to someone else, they're not only can they not follow you, they're genuinely not interested. That's kind of how I felt about 18If for the first half of the episode, but I found the characters and situations kind of pulled in on themselves to congeal into something interesting enough for me to like. I like the design. I like the idea. Nightmare on Elm Street's one of my favorites, so Dreamworld is fun because you can do anything, and it has a striking visual style, even if the rules of the world were somewhat unclear in the first episode. But it was enough to get me to want to watch the second episode, because it seemed to set up saying, okay, throughout the world are people who are stuck asleep. And it's this kid's job to solve their problems, confront their literal inner demons so that they can wake up and their parents stop crying by their bedside because their kid's in a coma, you know? That's a fine premise. You can that's a great problem of the week type of show, right? Every week we have to go into a different person's head and literally confront their innermost problems and turmoils and secrets and stuff so that they can let it go or deal with it or work through it and get on with their lives. That's a great setup, great premise. I like that. I watched 3 or 4 episodes of this and then stopped. And I think it's not a bad show. I rather enjoyed most of what I watched. But where it fell apart for me is it feels like each episode was created by a completely different team. Now, I know television shows, each episode of a show might have a different director, so you can feel a difference between individual episodes, but this one went further in the sense that it felt like each individual episode was tackled by a completely different show lead. You know, there's usually at least one overriding person guiding the entire show, a showrunner. It feels like every episode had its own showrunner, which created this discordant feeling that just didn't sit right with me. And also felt like the story just wasn't going to... It was too disconnected from itself, which sounds weird when I say it's a, episode of the week type of show. It's like, here's a new problem, we solved the new problem. But it's so disconnected that I didn't feel the need to keep watching. Not a bad show. Maybe if I had a lot more time in my day, I would have watched some more. But yeah, it was just a weird feeling, like I was watching a different show every single time. Not necessarily a bad thing. That in and of itself might be a positive for some viewers. So if you're a fan of the show, let me know what you think of that. Next on the list, Gamers! Because it has an exclamation point at the end. Gamers is a weird one. Gamers is, as I talked about in the debut review episode, is a show that does exactly what you... Let me rephrase that. It's a show that goes out of its way to avoid the established tropes of its genre. So the first episode, you have this lonely, introverted gamer guy who sits in the corner and plays his little games, and not a bad person, just doesn't have many friends and just keeps to himself, and gets invited to a gamer club with other people that share his passion for games. And he stands there and he thinks, wow, other people just like me, interested in the same things that I'm interested in. This is a place where I could fit in with people who share my interests. I could finally have friends. No thanks, bye. Really? He says, nope, I'm out, bye. Huh. Did not see that coming. In fact, the gamer club doesn't even show up again until like episode 4. What was also pretty clever is, as I talked about in the debut review, he had a genuinely solid reason for not joining the gamer club. Nominally, gaming is a personal thing for me. I do it to relax, for fun. I don't want the pressure of joining a club and gaming as kind of a job. It's like, we're in a club and we're going to work at this game and get better at this game and then compete. It's like, I don't want to do that. That's not how I enjoy games. And that's a genuinely good reason not to join the gamer club. So what does the show do? Well, it sets up a lot of the tropey things you'd expect. The gal who leads the gamer club is the student body president and the most popular girl in school, and she falls for this little dork. And he has another friend who has his own girlfriend, and then there's this other girl that he's trying to set her up, and you're like, oh, okay, so we're probably going to do maybe a harem anime. And they flirt with stuff like that, but at every turn, the show's like, I know what you're thinking. You think we're going to do this. Because anime always does that. Nope! And it goes and does something else. I don't care about any of the characters in this show. They're not bad people, although the main character can be oblivious to the point of just being outright rude to people. But he's not a bad person. None of the characters are bad people. I just personally don't care about any of them. I can't even remember any of their names. I probably can't remember the names of any of the characters in any of these shows, so it doesn't really matter. But I bring this up because what I find compelling about this show is the fact that it goes out of its way to subvert the tropes of its own genre. I've described this show as frustratingly compelling. I don't care about any of the individual characters. I don't care about their interpersonal relationships. I don't care about what they do. But I'm genuinely curious as to what the show is going to end up doing, because at pretty much every turn, if you've watched if you're as old as I am and you've been watching anime for decades, pardon me, you really get familiar with the tropes of the genre, and it's actually really entertaining to see a show that recognizes the tropes and goes, oh look! A trope! And it just steers in the other direction. Whether that's going to make an interesting narrative or not. And that's what I mean when I say it's frustratingly compelling. Because I absolutely adore the fact that this show is bending over backwards to try and subvert expectations. I just don't care about anyone in the show or anything that's happening in the show. That's what I mean by frustratingly compelling. I've watched 5 episodes, I think. I want to watch episode 6, but it's one of those where it's kind of hard to work up the enthusiasm to sit my butt down in front of the computer and watch episode 6, because I don't really care about what's his name or what's her name or what's his name and what the hell they're doing. because I don't care about them as people. But I'm interested to see what the show's going to do with them. Another thing that's kind of interesting about the show is, and this is one of those things. Here's the trope: your lead character is a hapless loser who is dense as a black hole. I mean, a woman will throw herself at his feet saying, "I want to date you because you're the love of my life." And he will say, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're trying to make me feel better because I'm such a loser." And you're thinking, oh my God. Even when she's explicit, you're still not getting it or won't believe her. How can you be this dense? And then a character in the show says, oh my God, how can you be this dense? And you as the viewer are like, I know, right? I just said that. We're seeing eye to eye here, character whose name I don't remember. It's funny because a lot of the characters in the show literally end up voicing the stuff that I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh man, who would do that? And another character say, I can't. Who does that? What is wrong with you? I'm like, exactly, yeah, right? Frustratingly compelling show. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to watch episode 6, at least. So, gamers. And last, we have Pikotaro's Lullaby. Each episode is only 3 minutes long. I said in my debut review, I would recommend giving it a try. It's one of those things that is surreal and absurd and not for everybody. You're probably going to have two general reactions. My reaction, which is, this is amazing, I need to see more. The other reaction is probably going to be stone-faced. It's going to be, I don't get why anyone would want to watch this. At all. Which are pretty polar extremes, but it worked for me, and I've watched every episode available. It's just like 7 or so. And I genuinely find this thing incredibly funny. Now, who the hell is Pikotaro? I had never heard of this gentleman. I actually looked him up. I was telling my sister about this show on the phone the other day, and she said, who's Pikotaro? And I said, you know what, I don't know. So I Googled him while I was on the phone. And the character in the show wears like this yellow pajamas. He's a Japanese comedian. Pikotaro is a stage name. I forget what his real name is, but he's a comedian. He does funny stuff, and he's known for wearing a yellow pajamas. And he's also apparently known for a incredibly viral video song called Pineapple Pen or something like that. I mean, this thing did like Gangnam Style numbers, and somehow I had never heard of this. I watched it. I can see why it went viral. It's kind of amusing, and it's patently absurd. It's one of those things where you watch and you're like, I've got to show this to everybody. What did I just watch? It's one of those things, this is a horrible example because it's not offensive in any way, but have you ever tried a new food and went, oh my God, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever put in my mouth. And your first thought is, try this. Oh, this is terrible. I need you to experience this too. I don't know why that popped into my head, because the pineapple pen, whatever the heck it is not terrible. It's just goofy and absurd. But it's that kind of thing where you maybe just don't know how to feel about it, and you need to share it with others to get their reaction. Maybe so that someday you can finally nail down how you feel about it. I get the feeling Pikotaro is probably a fairly divisive comic. I didn't read his entire Wikipedia page, but I get the sense that he's probably huge with a certain segment of Japan, and there's probably an equally large number of people who are like, oh, that guy. There's probably half the country's like, oh, Pikotaro, we do not like him, he's annoying. Trying to think of an American analog to that. Someone who some people are just completely enamored of, and the rest of the country is like, no, do not like. No, can't think of anything. But Pikotaro's Lullaby is basically take an Aesop fable, and Pikotaro just kind of shows up in the middle of it and just talks about other things usually. I'm not going to spoil any, but they're only 3 minutes long. If you're curious, give it a watch. I'll warn you though, it's not something to watch to be bowled over by the animation. It's basically like a static screen, and the character, almost nothing is animated. The characters look like they're cut out pictures on popsicle sticks that someone's, when they talk, like, hi, I'm Pikotaro and I'm talking, and they just kind of jiggle them a little bit when they're talking. Other than that, you're looking at like one picture throughout the entire 3 minutes. Just word of warning. It's no Studio Ghibli or Production IG, or don't expect to be bowled over by the art or animation. But I would recommend at least giving it a try, because it may do it for you. So, 7. I ended up watching at least 2 episodes of 7 of the 25 shows this season. So, what am I going to give Anime of the Season to? The prestigious Andrew Eisen Anime of the Season Award. Well, it's not going to go to Restaurant to Another World. It's not going to go to Classroom of the Elite. And it's not going to go to 18 If. It's really coming down to Tsuredure Children, Fastest Finger First, Gamers, and Pikotaro's Lullaby. 4 shows that I will almost certainly... Gamers, maybe not, but at least 3 of those I'll definitely be watching to the end. So... As you may have guessed, I'm gonna eliminate Gamers from the running, because it's something that it's frustratingly compelling, I think, is the best phrase to describe my feelings towards the show. I want to keep watching even though I don't care about anything that's actually happening. Which is weird. It's kind of a shame too, because I think if Gamers had characters I actually cared about, doing things I actually cared about, think of your favorite anime. And I mean anime plural, animes. Think of your favorite anime shows. That works better. And you remember the characters in them, right? They're characters you like. They become almost your friends, people you want to hang out with. You continue on to subsequent episodes to hang out with your friends, right? That's, for me, what Gamers is missing. I don't care about any of the characters. I think if this show had characters I cared about, doing things I cared about, this could easily be a classic. As it is, it's just a frustratingly compelling watch. Fastest Finger First is a good, solid show, but there are no surprises. The only thing unique about it is the fact that the subject is the sport, trivia. Other than that, it is exactly what you think it's going to be. That little gnat or something flying around. Which makes it kind of a comfort food show. It's not challenging, but it's entertaining. It's a nice show to chill to. But it's nothing new. I've seen dozens of shows just like it. I seriously doubt it's going to do anything to blaze a new path or do anything to actually surprise me. So it's a show I genuinely enjoy, but I wouldn't call it the best. So we're down to Tsuredure Children and Pikotaro's Lullaby. I'm going to give it to Tsuredure Children. And it's a close one because I genuinely really like Pikotaro's Lullaby. It's both in concept and animation unlike anything else I've seen from anime. But looking at the poster, looking at the art style, and looking at and reading the show's description, I went into it going, I'm curious to see what it is, and it could be something I like. Tsuredure Children, on the other hand, I looked at the poster, and I read the description, and I went, ugh. So I think Tsuredure Children had the steeper uphill battle for me, being a show about high school children and their love lives. Two things I give no cares about at all. So because it got over that impressive hump, I'm going to give the best show of this season, or at the very least, my favorite show of the season, to Tsuredure Children. Because who knew? An anime love life story, and he likes it. What's next? He's going to wear a white shirt? Huh. So that's it for the summer 2017 season of anime. What about the fall 2017 season of anime? Well, I'm not going to have time to do this again next season. I've got too many other projects and things going on, not the least of which is the Extra Life charity event in the, I think it's the first weekend in November. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. However, I still do love anime. Keep an eye on Crunchyroll when it announces its new, or when the new calendar comes out. And if there are any shows that are, any new shows that are on Crunchyroll for the fall 2017 season, shoot me a message on YouTube or Twitter, or at Andrew Eisen on Twitter, and let me know. And maybe I'll do 5 or 6 debut reviews for the fall 2017 season. Can't do all 20-some-odd shows or however many are going to be released, but I can do a few. So if there's something next season that you'd really like me to watch and like to hear what I think about it, let me know in the comment section, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and I'll certainly give it some consideration and maybe even a watch if I have time. So, that is it for debut review, summer 2017. Take care, all.